Have you ever wondered about Germany's role in World War I? To understand it, we first need to look at the alliance system. In the late 19th century, Europe was a hotbed of diplomatic alliances, none more significant than the Triple Alliance. This pact, forged between Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, was designed to maintain a balance of power in Europe. It was a strategy of mutual protection, where each member pledged to support the others in case of an attack by two or more great powers. Germany, under the leadership of Kaiser Wilhelm II, was the driving force behind this alliance. This alliance positioned Germany as a key player on the European stage, its influence reaching far beyond its borders. The Triple Alliance was more than just a pact between nations. It was a statement of intent, a promise of mutual defense that would soon be tested. This alliance formed a powerful bloc that would play a pivotal role as tensions escalated across Europe. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary was the spark that ignited the war. On that fateful day, June 28, 1914, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire was assassinated by a Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip. This event sent shockwaves throughout Europe. As part of their alliance, Germany stood firmly by Austria-Hungary's side, supporting their decision to declare war on Serbia in response to the assassination. This action was not taken lightly. It pulled the strings of the intricate web of alliances that crisscrossed the continent, dragging nations into a conflict that none of them were truly prepared for. The assassination had set a chain of events in motion, but it was Germany's unwavering support for Austria-Hungary that turned a regional dispute into a full-blown global war. Germany's unwavering support for its ally set the stage for a conflict that would engulf the world. Germany had a military strategy in place, known as the Schlieffen Plan. This plan was named after its chief architect, Count Alfred von Schlieffen, who served as the German chief of the General Staff from 1891 to 1906. The core of the Schlieffen Plan was a swift, sweeping attack on France through Belgium, which would ideally result in a quick French defeat within 6 weeks. The rationale behind this was simple. Russia, being vast and less industrialized, would take longer to mobilize its forces. By swiftly knocking out France, Germany planned to free up its troops and turn full force to the Eastern Front before Russia could fully enter the fray. The Schlieffen Plan was a gamble, hinging on the rapid defeat of France. But as we'll see, war is rarely so predictable. This military strategy, however, would face severe tests as the war unfolded. Germany's next move was the invasion of neutral Belgium. This critical step was not merely a random decision, but a calculated part of the Schlieffen Plan. The plan, named after its architect, Count Alfred von Schlieffen, was a two-front strategy. The idea was to quickly knock France out of the war through a sweeping motion through Belgium, then redirect forces to the Eastern Front to confront Russia. However, invading Belgium was not without its consequences. This action violated Belgium's neutrality, a status that major European powers, including Britain, had sworn to uphold. Britain, viewing Germany's actions as a threat to the balance of power in Europe, declared war on Germany. This effectively escalated the conflict from a regional squabble to a full-blown world war. Germany's decision to invade Belgium brought Britain into the war, further escalating the conflict. The war soon turned into a brutal stalemate, characterized by trench warfare. As battles raged on the Western Front, Germany, like its adversaries, was drawn into the grueling and grim reality of trench warfare. Picture miles upon miles of ditches, often filled with mud and water, becoming a soldier's home, front line, and sometimes their grave. Life in these trenches was a far cry from the glory and honor often associated with war. Soldiers lived in close quarters, battled sickness, and faced the constant threat of enemy fire. The conditions were harsh, and the psychological toll was immense. The constant threat of death, the deafening roar of artillery, the chilling screams of wounded comrades, these were the everyday realities for German soldiers. Yet despite the horrors, these soldiers showed remarkable resilience. Their courage in the face of adversity, their determination amidst despair, shaped the narrative of Germany's involvement in the war. Trench warfare tested the resilience and fortitude of German soldiers, marking a dark chapter in the war. Germany's use of U-boats marked a significant turning point in the war. Unrestricted submarine warfare was a policy adopted by Germany in which their U-boats, or submarines, would sink any ship without warning, including those carrying civilians. This strategy was not only a stark departure from traditional naval warfare, but it also violated international law. Germany believed that this policy would starve Britain into surrender, but it had unforeseen consequences. Among the many ships sunk were American vessels, resulting in the loss of American lives. These attacks on neutral ships and the subsequent loss of civilian life caused international outrage and ultimately played a crucial role in the United States' decision to enter the war in April of 1917. In essence, Germany's decision to pursue unrestricted submarine warfare, while initially seen as a tactical game-changer, proved to be a strategic misstep. Germany's U-boat campaign had far-reaching consequences, drawing the United States into the war. In 1918, Germany launched a massive offensive on the Western Front. This audacious move, known as the Spring Offensive, was Germany's attempt to end the war on their terms. The scope of the offensive was unprecedented, with more than 1 million German soldiers involved. The plan was to split the Allied forces, capture Paris, and force France to surrender. But the Spring Offensive was a gamble. It demanded a tremendous amount of resources and manpower. Initially, Germany made significant advances, causing considerable disruption to the Allies. However, the offensive was unable to maintain its momentum. The Germans were stretched thin, supplies were dwindling, and the Allies soon launched a counteroffensive. The Spring Offensive did not achieve its strategic goals. Instead, it drained Germany's resources, both in manpower and material. With the failure of the Spring Offensive, Germany found itself in a precarious position, its forces exhausted and morale sinking. The Spring Offensive marked a critical turning point, leaving Germany's resources depleted. As the war dragged on, Germany's position became increasingly untenable. With each passing day, the strength of the Central Powers, the coalition Germany was a part of, began to wane. Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, two key allies of Germany, were buckling under the pressure of sustained warfare. Their military prowess was dwindling, their resources were depleting, and their resolve was faltering. This weakening of Germany's allies had a profound impact on Germany's war effort. The Central Powers' collective strength was in their unity. As that unity began to fracture, Germany found itself increasingly isolated on the battlefield. It was now bearing the brunt of the Allied powers' assaults, with its allies unable to provide the support they once could. The collapse of the Central Powers was not an event, but a process. It was a slow, painful erosion of power and influence that left Germany in a precarious position. The collapse of the Central Powers signaled that the end of the war was in sight. Facing internal unrest and military defeat, Germany was forced to seek an armistice. The situation was dire. The Allies had successfully pushed back the German forces on the Western Front, and the Central Powers were crumbling. The German people were demanding an end to the war, and the military command was at a loss. It was clear that victory was out of reach. On November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed in Compiègne, France. The terms were harsh for Germany: the withdrawal of German troops to behind their own borders, the relinquishment of vast amounts of war material, and the promise of reparations. The fighting ceased, the guns fell silent, and the Great War, the war to end all wars, was finally over. But the armistice was not a peace treaty. It was merely a ceasefire, a pause in the conflict. The armistice marked the end of World War I, but the aftermath of the war would have lasting consequences. The Treaty of Versailles placed significant blame and harsh penalties on Germany. This monumental document, signed on June 28, 1919, aimed to ensure peace by holding Germany accountable for the war. However, the treaty's punitive measures led to widespread resentment among the German population. Germany was burdened with a staggering debt known as war reparations, amounting to billions of dollars. This debt, coupled with the loss of territories and demilitarization, caused a severe economic crisis, leading to hyperinflation and mass unemployment. The German people bore the brunt of these hardships, fostering a deep resentment towards the Allied powers who enforced the treaty. This bitterness, along with the sense of national humiliation, made the German society a fertile ground for extremist ideologies. It set the stage for the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party, who promised to restore Germany's dignity and power, ultimately leading to the outbreak of World War II. The Treaty of Versailles marked the end of World War I, but it also sowed the seeds for another devastating conflict.
Immerse yourself in this captivating snapshot of history. Subscribe and share to continue the journey through time. Join us again as we delve deeper into the past with more history shorts.